G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing these little guys, the Sennheiser Accentum True Wireless Earbuds. So these are a bit of a curveball. They've just arrived right on the back of the release of the Momentum 4 earbuds from Sennheiser. So coming up right behind them with an alternative, and this is kind of an extension of the Accentum over-ear headphones from Sennheiser with an in-ear option. And it kind of fits into that mid-range area for the Sennheiser brand. But these sound great, as we're about to find out. So we're going to dive in and take a look. And we're going to start with the price. Now these retail for $349 here in Australia. Now that's $150 less than the Momentum 4, so quite a big drop down, but you're still getting plenty of quality stuff for that money. So let's dive in and have a look at those features. So you're going to get the company's 7mm dynamic true response transducers. You're getting QI and USB-C charging. There's about 8 hours of advertised battery life with the 2 additional chargers held in the case for another 20 hours. The case holds about 20 hours. Look, in my testing, it didn't quite get to the 8 hours with the active noise cancellation on the entire time, but you know, it didn't get too far away from that, like 6, 7, so decent, okay, that's not amazing, but mid-tier, it's not too bad. You can quick charge in 1 hour. So you can quick charge in 10 minutes and get 1 hour of battery life out of that. Now there's a host of customization options through the smartphone app, which is the smart control app. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a sec. There's quite deep on-device controls. You've got 4 different tip sizes that come in the box. Beamforming mic array, hybrid active noise cancellation, 5-band equalizer, that is through the app. A transparency mode as well. So you've got transparency mode and active noise cancellation. You've got quite a unique design, a Bluetooth 5.3 support, IP54 weather rating, so that's pretty decent. That's going to get you through any kind of rogue water splashes, dust, that type of thing. It's aptX codec supported, but not aptX adaptive, which is what you kind of get in the Momentum 4. You also got AAC and LC3 codec support, and there's black or white variants that you can buy. So my initial experience using the Sennheiser Accentum True Wireless earbuds was a little bit so-so. I got it for the first time. It's kind of a blocky, bulky design, and it doesn't go into your ears like a lot of the earbuds that I usually use do. It's instead of kind of going in on that kind of trajectory where you hang down over the lobe, it basically goes the other way, literally, and you put it in and it feels really loose and like it's just not going to stay in place. And then you got to wiggle it around a little bit and you kind of find a sweet spot. And at first I was like, what's the go? Like it actually took me quite a few times to kind of work out what I was doing wrong until I realized, oh wow, it's a really different way that this sits. And annoyingly, they've got an L and a right on the design, but it's so subtle and so hard to read that you can't see it. So there's a lot of trial and error, I guess, when you're first getting used to using them, just kind of going which goes where's it go? And unusually as well, like it comes with 4 different tip sizes, and I'm usually the default in most headsets, but with these ones I had to go down to the second lowest to be able to fit them in my ear comfortably. And I say comfortably, kind of in inverted commas. I don't find these to be particularly comfortable. They're not necessarily tragic. It's not painful, but it's a bit of an alien feeling at first, and I never felt really amazingly comfortable wearing them, but they did stay in, and they did stay in when I was moving about as well. So I think I've just got to adapt a little bit to them more so than there's necessarily a problem, but they're definitely unusual. And at first, when I was using them, I was a little bit confused, and I think you'll find that too. So don't have an immediate gut reaction of going, oh, there's something wrong with these, because after I got it right, it improved drastically. Now also, the first time I used it, I just used Bluetooth and just synced it up to my phone with Bluetooth. I didn't get the app involved at all. I was just listening to it, and the listening experience was quite underwhelming. Like it was pretty good in the lows and mids, sorry, in the highs and mids, but the low was just vacant. And I thought, oh geez, it sounds like it wants to be okay, but it's not quite there. And I thought, maybe this is a bit of a miss. But then I paired it up with the app. And as soon as I picked up with the app, I downloaded a firmware update and I got to get in there and play around with some of the customization features within the app. And all of a sudden the sound just came to life. And the bass, the whole lower end just came right in, and I didn't really mess about with any of the mids or the highs as well. And there's actually quite an excellent clarity of sound here. I really like the way that it pulls out at the different genres. I was listening to hip hop, I was listening to some electronic, I was listening to a bit of rock, some reggae, just mixing it up, getting through it all. And yeah, they actually, you know, now that I've got that I don't know what the firmware update did. I don't know whether it was just the app kind of coming in and just taking a bit more control over the device. But as soon as I started, kind of got that involved and started listening, I was like, oh, okay, wow. All right, this is actually sounding really, really good. And I gotta say, they do sound really, really quite good. The active noise cancellation is also super solid. You can really notice it when you kind of come in and out, turning it off and on. It just like, you know, things like background noise, droning of my computer, snoring, things like that were just like kind of basically just rendered obsolete. They've got the transparency mode as well, so you can, that's a bit more hit and miss. You can kind of like, there's high, medium and low, and finding whatever it is that you're trying to get out of that so that you can kind of not get the impacts of wind and stuff like that while you're listening, but still be able to hear what's going on with you. For example, if you're riding, jogging, something like that, where you want to be aware that there's a car coming, but still be able to hear the sound clear and not have that wind effect. I found that it kind of worked a little better on the low side than the high setting. But on the active noise cancellation, it works a lot better. If you just want to nullify the wind or something, there's actually a specific wind setting that you can go to, and that kind of, you know, does wonders really. So, and also when you're using it to call, so using it, there's two types of kind of controls on it, but it just actively goes between either music or entertainment listening and to call. And I'll go through the controls in a sec. And when you switch to that, the mic does a really good job of just pulling out just your voice, even in like really crowded things like a shopping center, something like that. It just kind of pretty much just picked up on my voice pretty well. And it's not like amazing sound, but it still picks you up in a really crowded environment. So props for Sennheiser. I think they've done a pretty good job with all of that stuff. So when you're looking at the features that you really want to work well, the Accentum earbuds do a really good job there, and that's the most important thing, but it doesn't knock it out of the park. It's not perfect. Now, one of the things I guess it's a bit annoying is that the app is just through iOS, it's just through Android. I couldn't find a PC variant, a desktop variant to use. So when I was on my desktop, I did notice that the sound quality dropped a little bit. Not massively, they're still good, but not quite as good as when it's got when you're on your smartphone or your tablet. So there's something that you just kind of lose there, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if the app's getting involved or whether it's something to do with a smartphone, but it's a shame that kind of the customization opens and the flexibility that's offered by the app doesn't carry across off a smart device. And I'd like to see that being added in the future. Also, the controls, as I mentioned, they're a bit interesting. So I love that you can go in and customize them. That's great. So you can go in there, you can prioritize the things that you use most to the easiest to access. But the controls are basically, there's 4 different types of controls on the left and 4 different controls on the right. So there's 8 in total, and that should be great in theory, but it's actually quite hard to remember it all, especially which ear it does what. And then on top of that, the controls are basically different numbers of pressing. So out of the box, active noise cancellation, for example, is 3 taps. So you got to go 1, 2, 3 to get it to activate. And that kind of pushing against your own head while you're doing it, there's just a margin for error there. It's kind of a bit fumbly, a bit easier to kind of stuff it up. So I'm not over the moon with, like, they work, but it's just a little bit full on. I don't know if there's different places you could touch, which could actually do different things, as opposed to just being this one central spot that you didn't have to touch repeatedly to kind of cycle through to what you want. So that, I think, could be a little bit better. And also a little bit annoying for me was the USB-C cable that came with it. So it does charge through QI, so like that's great. That actually is really cool. And just in this pretty neat case, pretty robust case. Notably, the case does not have an IP rating. That's just something to keep in mind. They do, but that doesn't. So just something to keep in mind. But the USB-C charging cable that came with it is dead set. It's about that long. Like it's barely enough to get from your wall down, and doesn't come with the actual like the actual wall unit, as most things don't anymore. But that's, you know, it's a bit of a personal frustration of mine. But yeah, that short cable, like why? Like seriously, like even that long would be handy. That long is even better. So yeah, it's a kind of length where, for example, if you wanted to charge it on your bedside table and your power pointer's down underneath your bedside table, you're just never going to even reach the top of the bedside table. So I think that's something that I just wish they'd done a little bit better with. But the reality is the price point, that $349 price point, is Australian prices that is, kind of makes all of those negatives, which are they're fringe negatives, kind of fade away into the background. Because you're getting that like really quality Sennheiser sound experience here. And it feels in a lot of ways like you're getting a high-end sound at a mid-range price. And when you add in the quality ANC, when you add in the quality mic array, and a decent battery life, it starts to really kind of, you know, be quite competitive and definitely worth looking at, especially if that unique design goes well with your particular ears. And I think as well, if you're just kind of more of a general user and you're using your Spotify's, your YouTubes, watching a bit of entertainment, that kind of experience, you're not diving to the high-end lossless audio side of things where the Momentum 4 might come into play a bit better with its kind of higher-end codecs. If you're just looking for a good, really good mid-range audio experience, for just a general purpose use, then the Accentum True Wireless Earbuds from Sennheiser, yeah, they're pretty sweet. They're in a pretty good sweet spot. So anyway, that's my review. Those are my thoughts. I think I'm going to continue to use these. I'm really overwhelmingly impressed by the sound quality to the point where I'm willing to overlook the negatives. There you go, that's a good summary for you. Okay, I'm Chris Stead. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other reviews, and until next time, check you later. You!